Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're unpacking a philosophy that's designed not just to achieve success, but well, to accelerate it to an almost unbelievable level. We're talking about what the source material calls the 10x rule.
Right.
So our mission today is to really understand the extreme level of thought and, I guess, action required to move you firmly outside the average to become, truly extraordinary.
And we should just jump right in with the fundamental flaw that this whole rule is trying to correct.
Okay.
I mean, the single biggest mistake people make when they're chasing success is really two things. First, they fail to set their targets high enough.
Okay, they're aiming too low.
Way too low. And second, they just severely underestimate the amount of effort it's going to take to get there. And if you miscalculate that effort, you fail. It's that simple.
This is where the core idea gets really fascinating for me. And honestly, a little hard to believe at first.
It is.
The source makes this super counterintuitive claim about the energy required. It suggests it takes the same amount of energy to have a truly great marriage as it does an average kind of stagnant one.
Right.
And, maybe more shockingly, it claims it takes the same energy to make $10 million as it does to scrape together, say, 10,000. How can that possibly be true?
Well, it sounds absurd if you think about it just in terms of, raw hours worked.
Yeah.
But the energy isn't in repeating the tasks. The energy is in the mindset. It's in the scale of the idea itself.
I see.
I mean, think about it. It takes a similar kind of effort to plan a 100-person wedding as it does a 1,000-person gala. The belief you need to sustain a small goal is the same, if not smaller, than the one you need for a massive goal.
So a massive goal forces massive planning.
It forces massive planning and massive action, which creates its own momentum. A smaller goal, well, it lets you retreat back into your comfort zone. The energy you're spending is constant. It's the scale of the output that changes.
So the goals themselves have to change to match your true massive capability. Because that capability is demanding energy from you, whether you use it properly or not.
Precisely. And the goal of this deep dive is to break down that specific discipline, that mindset you need to consistently operate at those 10x levels. It's about making success not just something you hope for.
Right, not an option.
Not an option. It has to become a guaranteed outcome you commit to.
Okay, let's unpack this with the foundational shift you need for that commitment. The source argues success shouldn't be treated as, something that might happen by chance. It needs to be something far more serious.
It needs to be reframed completely. Success, when you're capable of it, has to be seen as an ethical issue. It's a duty, an obligation, and a responsibility.
To who?
To yourself, your family, your company. The argument is that abundance is natural. So if you are capable of reaching a higher level and creating more opportunity for everyone, it's arguably unethical not to.
Wow, that sounds intense. We're moving success from just a desire to a moral obligation.
We are.
How do we make sure that sense of duty doesn't turn into, toxic productivity or massive burnout?
That's a really important distinction. This duty isn't born from scarcity or, external pressure. It's born from recognizing your own power.
Okay.
Burnout usually happens when people take average action, fail, and then try to compensate by just doing more average action. The 10x rule demands massive action up front, which creates wins and momentum. The success itself fuels you.
That makes a lot of sense. So to understand this level of duty, we should look at the 4 degrees of action the sources identify.
Yes.
And the key takeaway here is that all 4 of them require energy, even the ones that look passive.
That's absolutely right. The first degree is, it's do nothing.
Right.
These are people who let life happen to them. They spend energy worrying, rationalizing, just not living up to their potential.
Now the second.
The second is retreat. They're taking action, but in reverse, usually to avoid pain. They use energy to justify why they can't do something.
Like, the stock market sucks, I'm never investing again.
Exactly that. Or deciding to stay a small company because they saw another one fail.
Then you get to the third, which is identified as the most prevalent and, kind of ironically, the most dangerous. Normal or average action. This is just taking enough action to fit in, to look acceptable, and it just leads to average lives, average careers.
And it is the most dangerous because society basically accepts it as the default. But average is a failing formula.
How so?
Because when things get unpredictable, a recession, new competition, a personal crisis, the average person fails. They have no margin for error. They didn't put in the extra work when times were good.
And that fragility is just, It's so clear when you look at the real-world data in the sources.
Consider the average worker in America reads less than one book a year
One book.
and works around 37.5 hours a week. Now, compare that to top CEOs who claim to read over 60 books a year. That CEO earns 319 times more.
So the formula for average just doesn't work for real success.
It can't.
This feeds right into what the source calls the middle-class squeeze. And this isn't just about income, right? It's a mindset.
It's a mindset of fragility. We're talking about how wages just fail to keep up with costs, putting the biggest group of people at massive risk.
The sources cite the $35,000 to $50,000 income range as being particularly insecure.
Exactly. That just comfortable level is the most vulnerable place to be when the economy shifts.
So the 10X philosophy says you have to abandon that fragility completely.
Which leads us to the fourth and really the only acceptable category of action: massive action.
Massive action. We've mentioned it, but let's define it. What does it look like to operate at a 10X level?
Well, massive action is the natural state. You see it in healthy kids, you see it in nature. It's that relentless push forward. It's defined by being persistent, being immediate, and this is crucial, it creates new problems.
New problems like what?
You want problems like, we have too many leads to handle, or, oh no, we need a bigger office.
Ah, so problems of success.
Exactly. They are a clear sign of forward momentum. If you're just solving the same old problems over and over, you're stuck in that average cycle.
So if average is the problem, the solution has to be a total shift in personal accountability.
Which brings us to mastering the mindset.
And what's the first step?
The first, absolutely non-negotiable step is assuming total control. You have to adopt the philosophy that nothing happens to you. It happens because of you, because of something you did or failed to do.
And the sources have great anecdotes for this, like the lights going out in the building or a small car accident.
Right.
You can spend all your energy blaming the electric company or the economy or the other driver, but blaming doesn't fix anything.
It solves nothing. Assuming responsibility, though, saying, I should have better insurance or I need a generator plan, that forces you to find a solution.
So blame is comfortable but paralyzing.
And responsibility is uncomfortable but empowering. That mindset completely reframes how you deal with resistance, especially fear.
So fear isn't a stop sign.
No, fear is not a signal to retreat. It's a great indicator. It's a green light showing you that you're doing what's necessary, that you're pushing past your comfort zone.
So what's the tactic for managing it?
The key tactic is to starve fear of its favorite food: time.
Time.
Yeah. Fear grows when you sit and think and analyze. The more you think about that big cold call or that investment, the stronger the fear gets. The action has to be immediate.
You have to convert that anxiety into forward motion.
Exactly. And speaking of resistance, the 10X mindset means you have to welcome criticism.
You have to expect it.
You have to expect it. It's a surefire sign of success. Criticism often comes right before admiration.
If no one is criticizing you, you're probably not visible enough.
You're still operating in the average range. The source has this fascinating example of operationalizing this. They actually rewarded staff who got complaints for being too aggressive with their follow-up.
Rewarded for compliance.
Yes. Because management reframed the complaint. It wasn't a failure. It was proof that the staff member was operating at that level of massive, persistent action.
So aggression in this context is just refusing to accept the status quo.
Or to delay. That's it. And that mindset leads you straight into the ultimate goal in the market, which is domination.
Right. If we're talking 10X success, we can't just be talking about competing.
Absolutely not. Competition in this framework is for sissies because it implies you're all sharing a manageable space. Domination means you set the pace, you change the rules, you become the one everyone else has to chase.
And how do you create that kind of dominance?
By using what the source calls only practices. Doing what your competitors absolutely refuse to do. The things that seem too extreme or too resource-intensive for an average business.
The example they give is pretty illustrative of this.
It really is. A sales company was struggling with follow-up, so they made a new rule. Managers had to call clients back as they were leaving the store. Sometimes they'd call the person's cell phone and ask them to come right back in if a concern came up.
That feels incredibly aggressive. I imagine most companies wouldn't do that because they'd be afraid of being pushy.
And that is precisely the point. That fear of being seen as pushy, that fear of rejection, that's what stops average companies.
So by doing the thing competitors refuse to do, You get an immediate, unfair advantage.
You risk a little discomfort for massive results, and the ultimate expression of that is the pursuit of omnipresence.
Being everywhere. We're talking about goals so big they scare you. Like aiming to get 6.8 billion people to know your name.
The reason for such an extreme goal is simple. The biggest problem for any brand, any idea, isn't a lack of money or talent, it's obscurity.
If they don't know you exist, they can't buy from you.
Exactly. So massive, persistent action is the only way to burst through all that noise.
This philosophy is really powerfully shown in a personal story from the source. After getting advice that the best revenge is massive success.
In response to critics, even criminals targeting his business.
Right. He just launched this relentless campaign of content creation.
It was pure 10x action, a total content blitz. Over 200 videos, 150 blogs, more than 700 radio interviews.
In just 18 months.
All of it aimed at flooding the market, achieving omnipresence instead of wasting a single drop of energy on retaliation or negativity. The action became the focus, not the problem.
And that level of intensity requires a shift in business focus.
Yeah.
Moving away from a metric that a lot of companies seem to worship. Customer satisfaction.
Absolutely. Customer satisfaction is the wrong primary target.
Why?
The source argues that customer acquisition is the right one because you can't have satisfaction without a customer in the first place.
You can't satisfy non-buyers.
Exactly. So companies should spend less time surveying their happy existing customers, which is really just patting themselves on the back, and more time on an exit survey for the people who didn't buy.
Surveying the failures instead of just celebrating the wins.
Yes. Find out why you failed to acquire their business. That failure point, that point of resistance, is where 10x action is needed the most.
Okay, so let's bring all this together for you listening. The 10x rule is not just advice. It's not a motivational poster. It's a rigorous commitment.
It's a commitment to a life built on abundance, on responsibility, and on just relentless action. We've identified the two non-negotiable parts.
Right.
First, set goals 10 times higher than you think you need. That builds in a buffer for all the unexpected stuff that will happen.
And
Second, you follow those enormous targets with 10x actions. Massive, persistent, and immediate actions that you can't let fear or procrastination negotiate away.
So as you move forward from here and decide how much effort you're willing to commit, consider this provocative thought, and this is drawn directly from the source material. As long as you are alive, you will either live to accomplish your own goals and dreams or be used as a resource to accomplish someone else's.
And that choice is entirely yours. It's determined by the level of action you commit to starting today.
And if this deep dive has given you that aha moment, that shortcut to crucial knowledge and a new way of thinking about effort,
just imagine what full access to our custom research and strategy analysis could do for you. Our whole goal is to be that resource you can leverage for your own 10x goals.
So make the choice to invest in your own knowledge. Commit to the continuous learning that you see successful people prioritize. Remember, top CEOs are leveraging constant streams of high-impact information.
And our deep dives are designed to be your most efficient resource for that. So if you enjoyed this analysis and want to keep getting these strategic knowledge downloads, tailored for learners like you who refuse to settle for average,
please make sure you hit that subscribe button right now.
join our community.
Join our community of subscribers who prioritize information, expansion, and making sure you never miss a deep dive again. It ensures you always have the leverage you need for massive success.